What's going on? It's Mando Crusader, and welcome to another MTGA video. This time, it should be obvious by the name of our deck here, no fun allowed, we are talking about Rogues. Everyone's favorite deck. So, Rogues in Historic, which this is, I should have probably prefaced that, but whatever. In Historic, Rogues has a bit of an interesting history. It was a relatively decent deck on the fringes of being competitive earlier this year. However, it got hit really hard by the Brainstorm banning, and that knocked it down a few pegs. And then Historic Horizons came in, and it was knocked down even more. And now that Memory Lapse was suspended a while ago, it's bad. Yeah, it's not bad per se, but it's not good, and it definitely isn't near the near competitive state it was earlier this year, like around Strixhaven release. But I thought that I would give it a try and see if we can make it work, because obviously it's still like a decent shell, right? You've got the beatdown game plan with your activated Soaring Thought Thieves and Thieves Guild Enforcers and Merfolk Windrobbers. You've got the mill plan with Ruin Crab and, Thieves Guild Enforcer and Soaring Thought Thief, along with your discards and Thoughtseize and Inquisition. And of course, you have everyone's favorite Dimir counterspell, Drown in the Lock, which just gets more powerful the more you mill, which, is kind of the whole point. You're basically, that is like the whole point. Your entire deck just gets more and more powerful as you mill more cards. Your Soaring Thought Thief gets activated. Your Thieves Guild Enforcer gets activated. You can use your Windrobber as card advantage. You can counter anything with Drown in the Lock, etc., etc. Or you just need a few extra pieces. You need a little extra card advantage. You needed a second counter spell. And for that, on the card advantage front, we're going back to the old standard favorite, Into the Story. Spell costs 3 less if your opponent has 7 or more cards in their graveyard, and then draw 4 cards. So, that's cool. You do need to get your opponent's graveyard to be full in order to cast it at a reasonable time, but, it's no Brainstorm. It's definitely not Brainstorm, but, it's still relatively decent. I thought about using Curious Obsession in its place, but I found that to be just a little bit too vulnerable to removal. And then, of course, we need a replacement for Memory Lapse. And the one I found to be most useful is Lofty Denial. So, Lofty Denial for 2 mana, counter target spell, unless its controller pays 1. Or, if you control a creature with flying, counter that spell unless its controller pays 4 instead. So, half of the creatures in our deck have flying. So, I figured this may be a relatively decent counter spell. And maybe a replacement for Memory Lapse. It certainly is no Memory Lapse, not a lot of things are. Memory Lapse is pretty unique, especially in this format. But we're gonna see if it can be a suitable replacement. So, yeah, besides that, you just got some typical deck tech. You got Lurrus, obviously, free card, and it brings all of your creatures back. You've got a single copy of Cling to Dust for some card advantage, a little bit of graveyard hate if you bin something way too dangerous into their graveyard. Also, it can help you live a little bit longer by gaining you life. 2 copies of Fatal Push, because a little extra removal is always a good thing. We've got 2 copies of Aghanim's Awakening. It can serve as a land or as a big reanimate spell for all your creatures, or at least for 2 of your creatures. Or 3 if Lurrus is in the graveyard. And we've got the mana base. This is the proper mana base. I already have the Dimir mana base. So 3 islands, 3 swamps, a castle Lockvein, 4 pathways, 4 check lands, 4 shock lands, and 4 fabled passages. And yeah, it's just rogues, and we're gonna see if we can get some wins. If I'm being completely transparent here, I don't expect to get a lot, but who knows? Maybe this deck will surprise us. So, yeah, let's get into a few matches, test this out. Before we do that, though, just to mention, if you like this content, be sure to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. Additionally, be sure to comment any decks that you want me to try out. I do take deck requests, and I'll do my best to get to them in as quick as possible. I do play this game for free 90% of the time, so, you know, getting wild cards takes a little bit, but I do have a list. I do have a list of decks that I need to craft. So, right, with all that being said, let's jump into some matches and see if we can get some wins with Historic Rogues. Alright, so, this is actually a really nice hand. We can activate our Draw on the Lock for our opponent's early drops on turn 2. I'm actually going to keep this. This is really nice. There's our Ruin Crab. We also have Thieves Guild Enforcer as well for some extra flash if necessary. Looks like our opponent is playing Silencia. At least it's starting off like that. Ah, it's humans! Well, this is a really good test. This is a really, really good test of Rogues' staying power. I think we definitely need to drown the Aspirant. And we'll just throw out the Watery Grave tapped. And we will pass. Now we should Skyclave Apparition on the Ruin Crab. We'll just bin 2 more cards here. It'd be nice if we could draw something other than land. That'd be pretty cool. Especially now that we don't have a Ruin Crab out anymore. My goodness. Opponent has all of the Skyclave Apparitions, apparently. Well. Let's bring out Lurrus. And, yes, bring in Aghanim's tapped. And then we'll into the story next turn, assuming that we don't have anything else to do. There's the Aspirant. And Aspirant number 2. And I think we can take 1 hit. Alright, we've got the Soaring Thought Thief. I think we need to grab another island. And play into the story. And sort of hope for the best. There's the Ranger Captain. Probably grabbing an Esper Sentinel? No, a Bodyguard. Let's just drown that. And we're just wide open here. Oh, we found the Ruin Crab, I suppose. Let's grab another island. Even though I think we're pretty dead. I'm gonna take a miracle here. Yeah, that's game. I think if we hadn't drawn so many lands, we may have been a bit better off there, but again, it is humans, so. All right. This hand looks decent. We got an Inquisition to take one of their early plays. Drawn on the lock. Thieves Guild Enforcer. This looks like a pretty good hand. We're gonna have to shock in our Watery Grave, though. Reckless Ringleader. Let's take a peek at their hand here. Let's get rid of that burning tree. If only out of pure spite. For the... Well, I guess I would call it a fake card, but... no, we'll shock that in. At the end, oh, not shot, we'll flash that in at the end of their turn. Draw a second burning tree. Oh, they shouldn't, they do have another Reckless Ringleader. Yeah. Alright, so... Probably gonna need to start holding up our Drown in the Locks. Although, thankfully, we do get to play our Wind Robber next turn. And that does power up our Thieves Guild Enforcer, as well as both of our Drown in the Locks. So I'm going to hold off on the attack for now. And that's game. Probably in no small part due to the fact that we seem to have milled most of our opponent's land drops. But, that's why this deck is called No Fun Allowed, right? I'm a horrible person. Alright, this is an acceptable opening hand. We've got our Thieves Guild Enforcer. We've got our Wind Robber. 2 counter spells in hand. Ugh. Angels. Or mono white life gain. Nope, it's mono white life gain. Alright. Okay. Well, we should be able to hold out this turn, and after this turn, we get some nice counters going on. Oh man, I'd really like a fatal push right about now. Oh, we potentially milled away our opponent's third land. Let's see. Should we counter this? No, let's drown him to lock the aspirin. Let him deal 2, or gain 2, I suppose. Back with the Wind Robber. Alicent of Life's Bounty is a good mill right there. We're 1 card off activating our Thieves Guild Enforcer. Definitely need to counter Maul of the Skyclaves. And there's the Thieves Guild activation. I will happily trade. And I will pass the turn. Mill another land. And we want to hold up mana for the counter here. For that reason, don't want Heliod on the field. And they do get to gain a life, which is unfortunate. They don't attack. Okay. Let's grab another island? Yeah, that'll be fine. Inquisition here. That's a pretty stacked hand. Let's get rid of one of the spellbinders. Draw a few cards. Oh, we should have taken the apparition. End the turn. There's the spellbinder. Probably drawn in the lock. Actually, no, yeah, it's drawn in the lock. So now our 2 mana counter spell suddenly costs 4 mana. I will not block. And Speaker of the Heavens, he got his 4th land. Okay. So we need to put out Ruin Crab. But now, luckily for us, the mill engine is on the line. And we're gonna Thoughtseize, take the apparition. And we can't bring in Lurrus this turn, but we can hold up Drown in the Lock. Kill the Elite Spellbinder. We'll let the Selfless Savior resolve. I will admit, our opponent's life total is getting scarily close to the activation limit for Speaker of the Heavens. What is our opponent doing? Is our opponent just roping us? Well, the deck is called No Fun Allowed, after all. And we certainly are not allowing any fun, so I guess this is what we can expect, huh? Oh, I will make you guys sit through all of this, so I'll cut to the end of his ropes. So I'll see you then. Oh, I guess it is my turn. And now we wait some more. To be honest, I asked for this. Just playing Rogues is enough to ask for this. I should have expected nothing less. And that's game. That is a win. So, yeah. To answer the question I sort of posed at the beginning of this video, is Rogues still viable? I think it's a two-part question. Answer, I mean. Can Rogues still win games? Yes, absolutely. And you'll make your opponents mad while you do it, because that's what Rogues does. Can it compete with the top of the meta? No, absolutely not. If you have the cards for this deck in your collection, like I happen to do, I happen to have all of these cards lying around because since Rogues was the first deck I made for Historic, believe it or not. It can be fun in the play queue. You'll win games. You'll get frustrated, but you'll win games. But I wouldn't take this onto the ladder. I think the meta has passed Rogues by. It had its time in the sun, but now it's simply just a play queue deck for when you want to attempt to make your opponents suffer, like the psychopath you are. So, yeah, that's about it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please do like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. And again, comment any decks you want me to try out in the comments. I do take deck requests. And, yeah, that's about it. See you in the next video. Have a good one.